I want to ask you a political question, because you and I have known each other even before you were an MP, and you were at the Montreal Economic Institute, then you were with the Harper government. Now you're the leader of the People's Party. And I know you've had a libertarian, freedom-oriented point of view for decades. Yeah. I've also known Pierre Poilievre for decades too. In fact, we both sort of grew up in Calgary at the same time. Believe it or not, when I ran for office very briefly, he was my communications director in my by-election campaign about 20 years ago. It's a little anecdote for you. And I know that he's said and believed conservative things for a long time. I think both of you have. Before Pierre Poilievre was the leader of the Conservative Party, you had Andrew Scheer and Erin O'Toole, both of whom had tremendous weaknesses, both ideologically and politically. They were not winners, and they had no chance of winning. And I think people were so appalled by how Erin O'Toole rebuffed the truckers that I think you were there saying, look, I believe in freedom. I've been in government. Come to the People's Party. We're what the Conservatives should have been. But over the last year especially, Pierre Poilievre seems to have consolidated the right of center vote. He's at 40%, 43% in the polls. He's starting very gently to talk about immigration. He talks a pretty good game on CBC, I'll tell you. And I think some people who before were for PPC are saying, you know what? The PPC is better. It's more purist. It's more idealistic. But Poilievre has a real chance to win. And because of our first past the post system, it's unlikely a PPC candidate could win. For example, there's a couple of by-elections coming up very soon, one in Quebec, one in Manitoba. What would you say, like talk directly to our viewers. Don't even talk to me now, Maxime. A lot of our Rebel News viewers have a deep affection for you. They remember that you were the only one standing with them during the lockdowns, during the pandemic. In fact, you were charged with a crime for it. Yeah. So our people have an affectionate love for you, but that's their heart. But their head also says, well, Poilievre can win. Speak directly to our viewers and tell them your case.
It's all the argument about splitting the vote. Oh, you know, Maxime, I like you. I like your ideas. I like your party. You were with us, but we need to get rid of Trudeau and you won't be prime minister tomorrow, so I cannot vote for you. That's the argument. And I must admit, Ezra, people are telling me that in my face sometimes. So, but the good news now, there's the good news. You just said it. Poilievre will win. Trudeau won't be able to win. Look at the poll, and he may have one of the biggest majority in the history of this country. You know, Trudeau won't be able. Everything that he's doing, it's doing everything for Poilievre being able to beat him. So if you look at the polls, and if you believe at the polls, you know, now you can vote for your value. Now you can vote for what you believe. Now you can vote for what you want. If you vote for what you want, you have a better chance to have what you want. So Poilievre will win. He will have a majority, but we need to be there. The PPC need to be there to keep Poilievre honest, to keep him in the right direction. And so, you know, you said it, Poilievre is looking in the center right, center left sometime, and he'll do compromise to be able to have the support of different ethnic communities, but he's taking the vote coming from the West for granted. And actually, we are not. We are speaking about the real issue. You need our voice in Ottawa. I need your vote, but you need our support in Ottawa. And voting for the PPC, it's a vote for you. It's a vote for the country. And we will support Poilievre when he'll be a conservative for sure. But we will shame him when he won't be. So look, people, you had Stephen Harper. I was with him in 2006. We had a minority government. 2008, a minority government. 2011, a majority national government. So I said to myself at that time, we'll be real conservative. What is the legacy of Stephen Harper after a majority? Yet. He dismantled the wheat board. That's it. There's no legacy with Stephen Harper. He didn't change the equalization formula. He did the biggest deficit in the history of our country at that time. Harper was a good manager of a big, fat, interventionist government. So if you want real reform, you need to put your vote where you for what you want. And we will push Poilievre in the right direction. You know, it took 7 times for Nigel in UK to be able to be elected. I'm not telling you that it will take for me 7 times, but at the next election, that will be my 3rd one, and we'll see. But we need to move the public opinion on our side, and the more people who speak about the PPC, the more people will be able to convince. And Poilievre is a follower, is following the public opinion, and if we have a strong support from 5 to 10%, Poilievre will look at that support as a government, and he will have to act a little bit. So that's why people need to vote in line with their values if they want to have bold changes in this country.
Very interesting. I think that's the first time I've heard you make this particular case to keep Poilievre's conservatives honest. That's very interesting, and I'm very glad I asked you that question. Well,
it's a kind of an insurance policy for the conservative voters that they will have a better conservative government.
That's an excerpt from my daily show called The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, and then I interview an interesting newsmaker. They could be from anywhere, really. Then I wrap up by reading my fan mail, and if I can, some hate mail too. We do it every weeknight, and my friend Sheila Gunn-Reid does a show every week too. But you've got to subscribe. Go to rebelnewsplus.com, click subscribe. It's $8 a month. And I hope you like it.